Welcome to the American Intelligence Media. My name is Douglas Gabriel, and I'd like to tell you that the show that I'm about to present will probably be one of the most powerful that we've ever done. The person we're talking to, for our purposes, we're going to name Michael Thomas. To be quite frank, he's one of the secret chiefs. And I'm not going to say much today, so for that reason alone, this will be a unique show. You have to understand what's going on. So this is one of the most powerful calls to action that we have given in 2 years since we started. But anyway, when we sent a note to Mothership, he said, write up a story. So Betsy said, write up a story. So I said, who, me? Okay, I'll write up a story. Then he posted it all over the place because he's got every friend there is from the beginning of alternative media, the true patriot citizen journalists out there. He is literally one of the field marshals. He's out there. He's been in the battle. He's radicalized many people like Betsy and I. And after he got us the dopamine hits of putting it up on places like Before It's News, when we used to write all the time for him, and he would post it everywhere, it got us started. And then Betsy and he and the whole group got us started as Aim for Truth. Now, what we're about to talk about today is not that. But I can tell you that earlier today I was sick until Betsy gave me a call and said, Mothership has agreed to an interview. And that freaked me out so bad that I'm up and I'm happening, because this is one of the most important interviews, people, that I've ever given. And you're going to understand that Michael Thomas, Mothership, he's been training me, and I've been training the conclave with the very things that he may share today. I don't know what all he's going to share, but I can tell you he is in the biggest hot zone right now in America, and he understands more about politics. I can't name, because I haven't talked with him about what I'm allowed to reveal. He'll reveal that himself, but I can say that his influence goes further than you can possibly imagine. And so what we're going to talk about today is he called me. When I talked with him, he said, it's now. This is the call to action. This is the battle. If we do not take the midterm, and the geoengineering, which he's proven to me, and I studied, and I saw the accumulators and the humidifiers that are bigger than anything you've ever seen on platforms out in the ocean in Hurricane Lane, creating these hurricanes and aiming them at us. And at one point last year, for the first time in history, they got so carried away, they created a hurricane with 8 eyes in the middle of it. When it petered out, they created 3 more, and then when it got near the shore, they hit it with 2 more, and then it hit Texas. Now, all along were these gigantic humidifiers, bigger than I can even explain to you, and also floating platforms of the radar that they use to stimulate the water and the particles that they seed those clouds with. They put more humidity in the air last year than ever in history, and yet it continues to go, and until you talk to someone like Michael, you'd never know it. So I think he wants to talk today about the fact that this call to action started with, one of the opposition's responses was to literally geoengineer and to attack a section of Florida that is so crucial to the vote that it literally comes down to the Panhandle of Florida on every vote. And isn't it amazing how they chemtrailed it to death, and now they attacked it with another geoengineering hurricane? The show's yours. Please tell us what you can tell us.
Thank you, Douglas, for that introduction very much. Let me begin by asking everyone to close their eyes, put your hands together, and pray, because the weather weapon that was aimed at the Florida Panhandle in the form of Hurricane Michael was far more catastrophic than anyone knows. You hear that a few people died, hundreds died, thousands died. We don't know yet. But when a storm that powerful and that big hits an area like the Panhandle, you have to understand that they blew it up with a weather bomb, and they knew what they were doing. So for a moment, some silence and solemn prayer for the many good souls who passed away in a flash, and for all the other souls who are hurting desperately. Search and rescue has only begun. The enormity of this event will never be understood. The profundity of its far-reaching ramifications cannot be known for months. So please, let's pray. Dear Lord, please console those who are hurting. Help those who need aid. Properly bury the ones that are buried under rubbish, homes, collapsed buildings. Bring comfort to all of those in need. In your name, we ask. Amen. What happened here in the Panhandle was nothing less than an act of weather terrorism. Hurricane Michael was a fully geoengineered storm from start to finish. The geoengineers will often identify a natural storm and hijack it, and then they'll intensify it systematically with a variety of advanced geoengineering technologies, and then they'll aim it wherever they want to aim it. And they have the full capability of doing so. As Hurricane Harvey showed the entire world. If the listener doesn't believe that, go to State of the Nation and put Hurricane Harvey in the search bar and read up. Hurricane Florence, it just hit North Carolina, modeled after Hurricane Harvey, another rain dumper that North Carolina is still recovering from. That was a September surprise. That was a September shock and awe to the Carolinas. Now here we are in October. Welcome to the first or second October surprise. Hurricane Michael, a deliberately geoengineered storm, slammed into the Florida Panhandle between Mexico Beach and Panama City. The eye wall is 28 miles long, stretched from the left side of Mexico Beach to the east border of Panama City. Folks, this is red country. This is Republican red country. The Panhandle is as red as any place on the planet. In this country especially. It's red. These people are the salt of the earth. They're good people. They're religious. They're patriots. They're nationalists. They're conservatives. They're Christians. They're militiamen. They're vets. They're gun owners. And they vote straight Republican every year, without exception. If you were to aim a weather weapon at any part of Florida, at any part of the country to wipe out a massive right-leaning voting demographic, you would aim that weapon exactly where they aimed it. That's where you would aim it, especially in an election cycle like 2018, the most critical midterm election cycle in U.S. history. The outcomes dictate everything on both sides of the fence, and that's why they did what they did. And that's why they did it when they did it. October, weeks before the election. Weeks. Millions of voters won't be able to vote. There's no voting booth. The school's gone. The polling place is gone. And by the way, if they could vote, these people have no homes. They have no food. Their jobs are wiped out. Do you see how deliberate this was?
Absolutely.
They're all deliberate. All of these acts of weather terrorism, they're all deliberate, very precisely planned out to the dotting of the I's and the crossing of the T's. And we have delineated those details very clearly at our websites, State of the Nation, the Millennium Report. You can read all the past reports on a multitude of geoengineered storms. Did you want to say something, Douglas?
I just want to say that what you just said was very profound. And those sites are incredibly profound. They always have been, and they have inspired so many people. I'm thankful that you've come out and you said that, and I see that the severity of the situation must be and is so profound that it's caused you to actually come out into public. Thank you.
You're welcome. And it's at this stage, we're obligated to do so. This is the end, or it's the beginning, or it's the beginning of the end. But we've come out in the open because if all of us don't do something now, we'll never have another opportunity to do something. This is the end. This midterm marks either the end or the beginning for one side or the other. So I appreciate your comments very much, and your observation is right on track. It doesn't get more serious than the midterms of 2018, and that's why Hurricane Michael was geoengineered when it was, where it was, and how it was. Case closed. Look at everything. Step away from it. Look at what they did, generating the storm right off the Yucatan Peninsula, the way they generated almost from scratch Hurricane Harvey. Well, actually they hijacked a storm that was crossing over the Yucatan with Hurricane Harvey. In this instance, they created a storm from scratch, and that's why so many people got caught unaware. This doesn't happen. You don't go from a tropical depression to a tropical storm to a Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, Cat 4, the way this evolved, unless it's being jacked up step by step by a whole variety of geoengineering technologies and equipment. Some of those are satellite-based, land-based, sea-based. HARP isn't just in Alaska. HARP is everywhere now. They can HARP anything from a satellite, from a ship at sea, from a land-based HARP station. They're all over, and they have been, not just Alaska. As Douglas alluded to earlier, there are moisture generators all over the place. Power plants, in fact. Every major power plant can act as a major moisture generator, especially for the heartland, when they're creating the deluges and floods in the heartland, which they often do. The NEXRAD stations, Doppler radar, these stations they have multifarious purposes to them. They can utilize them to manipulate weather in ways that you can't even imagine. So the point is, the technology's there. It's been there for decades. They've used it for decades, and creating and aiming a weather weapon as destructive and deadly as Hurricane Michael is the culmination of the perfection of their art, their science. That's what Hurricane Michael is. And they used it at the perfect time. So watch. This is what they did. You got a storm. A little storm may be natural. They take it, they feed it moisture, and then they track it. Look at the original track. Tracking right toward Tallahassee, Florida. I'm not afraid to tell you. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. Okay? Interestingly enough, my name is Michael. So I'm watching a storm. I'm going to watch any storm that's named Michael, especially when it's coming right at my town. And we watch this thing like a hawk, day one. Storms don't go from a 1 to a 3 to a 4 to a borderline 5 the way this one did. And that's why all of those people are dead. Thousands are dead because those people don't go. The Panhandle roughs it. This is Hurricane Alley. We've had hurricanes here for the past 100 years. We don't leave. We stay and tough it out because we've never seen a Hurricane Michael. They had a Hurricane Camille that hit Mississippi that did a lot of destruction. They had Hurricane Andrew that hit South Florida, Homestead, that did a lot of destruction. But these people are tough. They're fishermen. They're beach people. You know this to the earth. You got to really drive them off the land with a cattle prod if you're gonna remove them. So a lot of these good people stayed there. They didn't know what they were dealing with. The state didn't know what they were dealing with. Governor Scott didn't know what he was dealing with. We watch hurricanes like a freaking hawk. We didn't know what we were dealing with until they ramped it up to a borderline Cat 5 that remained a Cat 3 in South Georgia. How did the hurricane remain a Cat 3 in South Georgia? It didn't happen unless it's geoengineered to happen. It's never happened.
Michael, I'm amazed you told us where you live. Now I can address the fact that you literally are in the middle of this and you have miraculously survived. Tell us about that.
Only by the grace of God, really, Douglas, only by the grace of God. And I say that humbly. I mean, my wife and I are just in awe. We're in somehow we ended up in an oasis. The fact that I even have a phone and I've got electric, where hardly anyone in Leon County, Florida has electric. There's no electric anywhere. It's a handful of people. And somehow we got electric and made this call. And phone service. So I'm going to tell you why we got saved. We had a lot of people praying. The power of prayer. Only through the power of prayer. Only through the power of prayer am I able to conduct this call today, 2 days after the storm. It's just that simple. Tallahassee was...
And I thank you because, I mean, sometimes we're getting a bit of a poor connection, and I'm not going to back off this conversation because who knows whether or not you'll even have power in the next few minutes. And the thing that you're saying is, I assume you're now going to say also, they're probably going to hide those deaths so that they aren't responsible. But I also want to say that when you pointed me at these gigantic Doppler radars that are out in international waters that are bigger than 4 football fields put together, that have no purpose except to direct these clouds that have been taken water from the ocean, put into the air. They direct them. This isn't an imagination. And the chemtrails that have hit the western side of Florida, again and again, you see this on the news. You even see cuts from weathermen who say, "Oh yeah, I did that in the military. We do that all the time." No, we're doing geoengineering here in the western part of Florida more so than any place else, even southwestern California. Which that's why the droughts are created and why they try to stimulate one thing and then they get the opposite. So they in this case though have perfected it. When I was talking with you, watching these hurricanes, you literally predict what the next stage is, where the next stimulation stage is, where all these things happen. Folks, the chemtrails are real and they're part of this geoengineering, and the system that is in place is in international waters, and it's owned by corporations. It's not owned by America. Even the NEXRAD, the Doppler radar system, as you pointed out to me, strangely enough, as soon as I studied it, they changed hands. It was in British hands. All of our entire weather system through these Doppler radar is not even controlled by America, and then the ones in international waters. So this is not only economic warfare, it's literally, it's like 911. These are planned deaths, planned attacks. They know exactly who they're going after. The previous one was for oil, I believe, that they engineered so perfectly. And they do these things now, as you're pointing out, good heavens, for the political reason that we all were activated and fighting for this midterm election. We know, as you said, this is it, folks. This is the end of the beginning. And to help make sure that they could damage one of the best strong MAGA areas in America, they aimed the hurricane directly there with a force that nobody's ever seen before in a way that is obviously manipulated. Folks, we're in war. This is a corporate war, and now the corporate war is attempting to stop our election from actually happening, even having a free election. And it's a warning to others. Don't forget that. So, Michael, what you're saying, I feel the call to action. We need some strategies.
But you made excellent points, Douglas, that your entire audience hopefully paid very close attention to. So this stretch of the Panhandle is a lot of Republican voters. They will not vote. The criticality of this vote for the governorship, it goes way beyond just winning the governorship of Florida. The Democrat Andrew Gillum is up against the Republican Ron DeSantis, and this is the fight of the midterm. There's no bigger election in America than the governor race in Florida, and here's why. It's Florida. This is the bellwether state. Beyond that, it's a swing state. It's beyond that. Whoever wins Florida wins 2020. It's that simple. Now, what's the real problem? If Gillum is in the governor's here in Tallahassee, the executive branch easily controls certification of the 29 electoral votes in 2020, just as George W. Bush stole the election in 2000 with the help of his brother Jeb Bush, who was governor of Florida. Well, we're set up for a repeat performance. Gillum wins. DeSantis, the Republican candidate, great guy, House member, real leader he's a leader in the fight with Big Alley and Jim Jordan and all the rest of the Tea Partiers. He's leading the fight, and if he doesn't win this election in Florida, governorship, then Soros will use Gillum by every means possible to rig the election, to fix the election, to steal the election in Florida. And by the way, when you wipe out 1 million voters in North Florida who are predictably red, remember this is the reddest place in the 50 states. When you wipe that voting demographic out, you just made it very, very difficult or easy for the left to continue to steal the election because, a million voters aren't there who would have been there. So that this is a big piece of the strategy. In addition to that, it gives the mayor, for those who don't know, the mayor of Tallahassee is Andrew Gillum. This is a guy who we witnessed firsthand, totally botched the last major hurricane that came through, Hurricane Hermine in 2016. Totally botched it. So bad that he and Scott got into a fighting match. That was bad, and everyone in the state knew it. So that's his claim to fame, a totally botched response to a major hurricane that had us in power for a week for no reason. I mean, big oaks on the crossing the major roadways for days and days unnecessarily, active power lines covering the roads. This has never happened before. Never, not in the capital city. So Gillum, what did they have to do with Gillum? They turned around his record, very bad record of woeful incompetence and willful neglect. Sound like someone we know? That thing starts with an O?
That's for sure.
So this is a new Manchurian candidate that we call him Obama 2.0 because that's the way he's been groomed to be Obama 2.0. And they do anything they can to shoehorn this guy into the governor's seat here in Florida. And if they're successful. So the call to action, there's a bunch of call to actions today, people. One of them, right here, Florida, if you're listening, call to action. Call to action. Huge call to action. Something has to be, and there are problems with the campaign that can be explained away in a number of different ways. I don't want to go into that right now because we've got bigger things to talk about. All I'm going to say is this, is that DeSantis needs every single vote that he can get. For that end, we're going to the governor's office on Monday, and we will present a letter very clearly to Florida's Governor Rick Scott to guarantee the right to vote to every single resident of Florida, every registered voter, because they all have to vote. Because otherwise, it's going to go almost by default to the left. And that can't happen. It's too consequential. This Florida election, people, is way too consequential. People don't understand that. Tallahassee dictates a lot of presidential elections. It did in 2000. It did back in the 1800s. It happens to be that kind of a city, political city. What happens in Tallahassee sneezes, the rest of the country gets pneumonia, unfortunately, like we did 8 years of Bush, W. Bush.
Oh, absolutely. So, it's the barometer.
Well, with that said, you got the call to action here in Florida, but much more importantly, I think that the purpose of the call is to galvanize the right, is to formulate among all of us, every listener, we're all generals on the battlefield today, all of us. We need to get together, we need to strategize, we need to unify, we need to galvanize. And the purpose of this call is to get people thinking, what do we do from now until Monday? Florida, our network there is working 24/7, and every person in Florida needs to work 24/7 between now and October 6th. As all of us will do that. But much greater strategy here is nationwide, because this attack, this weather attack on innocent people, if the right really understood what happened with Hurricane Michael, it would galvanize the right in a way that even the Kavanaugh, very highly coordinated Kavanaugh character assassination conspiracy by the left, we saw what that did. People are voting who never voted before. They saw how completely corrupt and criminal the Democratic side of the House is. And did a great job. Kavanaugh got sacrificed in the process, but guess what? The right is voting like never before in a midterm election. Never before. Now, we take this little weapon that just was aimed at us, killed a lot of our compatriots, a lot of our fellow Floridians, a lot of our peer Republican right-side voters. They're dead. If they're not dead, they're injured. If they're not injured, they're homeless. If they're not homeless, they're jobless. If they're not jobless, they've got no food. That's what they did with Hurricane Michael. So, in their memory, let's step up to the plate and show the left what we're made of. We have to, if only for their memory, we need to galvanize like never before and turn this into another Kavanaugh moment. Kavanaugh was the second of September. Mike is a surprise. Let's take the dark cloud, the real dark black cloud of Michael, boomerang it back and globalists, this NWO globalist cabal who controls the geoengineers and directs them to do whatever they want to do, anytime, anywhere, anyhow.
Aim for Truth has heard the call. We absolutely will focus on this. We have a poor connection with you now. I want to end this conversation, and then hopefully we can get a better connection and continue this on what other topic you want to speak. But I can't thank you enough for coming out in public, for representing those who have been hit by this attack, and for awakening everyone so that we can turn this election into the red tsunami. It needs to be the red wave that is the counter wave for this attack upon America with weather, the weather attack that just happened. And if we can get a good connection, hopefully we can have another conversation very soon. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all the work you've ever done. It's amazing. If people actually knew who I'm talking to, they'd be shocked because of the astounding work that you and your network have done. We hear the call. We're going to answer it. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome, Douglas. Thank you to you and Betsy and Tyler and the whole crew of the Conclave for the great work that you guys have done. You're a big part of this counter-revolution, so to speak. We need every one of us, and all of us are very, very appreciative of the incredible work that you've done in a very short period of time. It's amazing, so thank you as well.
Well, they need to thank you because you radicalized us, so thank you for all that you've done. And we're going to keep praying for you. Hopefully we can get a better connection here and continue the conversation.